Good morning and welcome to CFO Coffee Talk number 17. This morning's topic, CFOs and sell-side M&A. With me this morning are two very experienced CFOs from Palm Harbor, John Cruikshank. Morning, John.
Good morning, Phil.
And from Sarasota, Tim Fisher.
Good morning, Phil.
John, tell us about your experiences in the sell-side.
Sure. So my background has predominantly been in manufacturing and distribution. I spent about 2 years of my career selling off the constituent parts of the North American division of a UK public company, all its subsidiaries. So that was quite an experience to either competitors, joint ventures, or strategics. I finished up selling 2 of the businesses in Canada to my colleagues in the private equity group. Finished up joining them and then sold that business back to the largest steel service center company in the US. And then more recently, I helped clean up over about 3 to 4 years and then sell to private equity a small family business. And the latest one is just 2 sort of non-core, non-profitable divisions of a business in North Carolina. So across the spectrum in terms of types of companies.
Wow, impressive. Diverse background there, John. Tim, can you match that?
Oh, it's tough. So yeah, I've probably helped sell over 24 small businesses in my career, primarily in the printing and packaging space. I've been in that area for about 30 years of my career. In my last role as the CFO, I sold a business right in the middle of the pandemic, which was challenging, but actually a good win-win for both sides. Most of the businesses I help sell have been between $5 and $20 million in revenue, and 70% of those transactions were asset sales, as opposed to stock sales.
Yeah.
I've also been involved in over 24 buy-side transactions. As every small business will go through a sell-side transaction sometime during its life cycle. So it's an important topic that we're talking about today.
Wow, I bet your middle initials are M and A. I had a little bit of experience in my time as a partner with the Florida CFO Group. It was about 3.5 years ago. I got phone calls in consecutive weeks from business owners. The first one said, "Phil, I just turned 50 and I'm not at my number. I need some help." And the following week, I got a call from a guy who said, "Phil, I just turned 60. I'm not at my number. I need some help." And both of them had some happy endings, which I think I will touch upon as we work our way through the questions. So let's get into it. Tim, what is the right time to sell?
Gosh, that's a great question, Phil, and one that I think a lot of business owners would love to know the answer to that. Ideally, in a perfect world, right, which is usually doesn't happen, the best time is when it's under your control, right? So market conditions are in great shape. The state of the industry is in wonderful shape. And really, the most important thing is your financial health of the business is really, really good. And finally, your personal goals and objectives are being met. It's really recommended to sell your business when all those things are, at a high level. So typically a buyer will want to, obviously pay a lot more money when those things are all aligned. But many times, as we know, those things don't always happen and aren't always under our control. Many times it will be because of a negative thing, such as a divorce, such as a breakup, if you will, of a partnership, or some other factor that just causes the business to have to go into a sell mode. And so you'll hear me say during this next 10 minutes or so about planning. You've got to plan ahead and be ready to execute on an exit strategy as soon as the opportunity arises.
Yeah, timing is so critical.
Yeah,
it's when you control it, it's the best. I got a story about the worst time ever to sell a business, and that's when Time Warner decided to sell to AOL for stock right before the dot-com bubble burst. Cost me a decade's worth of executive stock options, and I'm not at all bitter about it, though. Hey, John, I know a deal killer can be when owners have unrealistic price expectations. As a CFO, how do you manage that so that the realism helps make the deal happen?
I think you have to start the discussions very early on with the owners, especially in the smaller sort of family style businesses. In my experience, when you've got several family members, they have very different views of what their company's worth. It's obviously an emotional issue for them, and they usually, for perfectly reasonable reasons, feel that it's worth more than frankly they usually are. So I like to model for them a sort of best case, most likely case, and a worst case based on the operational and financial actual numbers and projected numbers, and doing it on a range of multiples for that industry, and keep that up to date with them. And if things change, you just got to keep communicating with them. So if things, go down a little bit in terms of performance, you have to realign your expectations. Even doing that, it's difficult, but that's the best way I've found in order to try and avoid what I've seen, which is getting 2 or 3 companies to the altar ready to do a deal and have them go down because the owners were not prepared to accept the money.
Yeah, it's so valuable to do that because it also inspires the business owner and reminds them that performance during that transitional period is so critical. You're affecting the valuation month after month.
Absolutely.
So, Tim, here's a cream puff question for you. Can you sell your business on your own?
Okay, sure. Yeah, good question. Again, the answer is yes, right? You can. It's possible to sell your business on your own without the assistance of a professional advisor or broker. However, it's not advisable. I have some stories, and we're not going to have time to tell them, about folks who tried it and didn't work well. But the bottom line is you're going to need an advisor of some sort, right? Whether it's a broker, whether it's a legal advisor, a financial advisor, you're going to need someone to help you. And why? Because it's a complex process, right? It's time. There's a lot of time and effort that goes into selling a business. And at the same time, you have to run your business, right? So, you can't be completely distracted in trying to sell it when you're trying to run it and keep it operating at a high level. The process takes a long time. You got to be prepared to have many questions and a lot of different diversions in those discussions. You have to be prepared for due diligence. You have to be prepared for legal documentation. And more importantly, one of the most important things I like to see in a good sale process is a good confidential information memorandum. We call it a SIM or a book. You'll hear that often when you go to sell. That has to be really well. That's your first impression to any potential buyer. It needs to be done well. If it's a couple of pages, probably not good. If it's 20 pages, probably have a chance, right? But it needs to really outline your business as you know it. And your advisor needs to know your business as well as you do. So pick someone who understands your industry, pick someone who understands your business and is interested in your business, not just in trying to sell it.
Very good. John, who else needs to be on the preparation team?
Well, firstly, I agree with Tim that in most cases you need to have some sort of advisor. In most of the ones I've done, we've used a sort of smaller niche investment banker who had knowledge of the industry. You do pay obviously for that, but their sort of network and their negotiation abilities usually make it worth it. You obviously need the senior team of the company on board, the CEO, the shareholders. You're going to have your operations guys and gals involved. You're going to have your salespeople involved, and obviously you're going to need your finance key players. You're going to need your controller or your finance manager, whoever it is, and if you've got it, anyone who's on the sort of FP&A side, financial planning and analysis. And then lastly, you're going to need a good M&A lawyer.
Yep. And a good fractional CFO if you don't have one. We
Right.
can serve as a quarterback. We happen to know talented people who have all these traits and skills and talents that we can help assemble the team, and most importantly, help keep the cash EBITDA and multiple rising during the transaction to help maximize the exit. So, Tim, what are some things owners should do to prepare a business for sale?
So yeah, there's probably a list of 12 items, but I'll go through kind of the most important ones that I feel, and then John can talk about a couple as well. But I think the biggest thing for me is get your financial house in order. Okay, people want to know how your business is performing. Have good financials, have good analysis, have good sales reports. But make sure they're in order, that you have, the trailing 5 years, you have forward-looking forecasts. Financials are so important. Cash flow, P&L, balance sheet, all those things that are easily understood at a summary level are really important. I think the other things you need are potentially the SIM. I told you the confidential information memorandum. You need to make sure that that's in place. You need to have a business valuation. I highly suggest, if you're selling equipment is involved, get equipment valuation or appraisal. Have a business valuation done, so you know what a real a legitimate expectation is for your sale.
All right, good start, John. Who else? What else are some preparation steps that you could add to the mix?
I think the owners early on need to think about who they want to sell their business to, because it's very different selling to whether you sell to a competitor or a strategic. Most business owners, if they haven't got a succession plan, want their business to continue. And I've seen several where they sold to people and they did not continue. They got basically destroyed. I think there's a couple of other things you can do. You don't have to. I think it's worth having a quality of earnings report done by an independent accountant. Costs a little bit of money, but not a lot, and it goes down well with potential buyers. And similarly, if you need it, an environmental report, a phase 1 or a phase 2 environmental report, if you have to go to phase 2. Those are the main things I think.
And a solid data room that helps you track who's going in and out.
Yeah.
Very good. Let's talk about some strategies that owners who want to sell should be aware of. John, why don't you start off this one?
I probably won't touch on all of them. There's obviously the straight sale. It's done. You get the money and you walk away. There's the earn out, where you do a deal that you get a percentage of the money, and then the balance is going to come over the next 2 to 3 years, depending on the performance of the company. Personally, I don't like those. They're very messy and they get very difficult sometimes to deal with. They could consider, if they have the team, a management buyout, an MBO, if there's enough people at the senior level or other levels in the company that are interested in doing that. Another option is an ESOP buyout, with all the employees taking a share. That's a tough one to pull off. I've had to do that once. And the last one, and I've only seen it a couple of times, is just what I call a progressive divestment. So you sell off 25% of your company initially, stay on for another year, then you sell, maybe 50, or you get to control. Again, it depends what the owner wants to do. It's not one I would personally recommend.
Yeah. One of mine that I've seen work very well and was very blessed in the timing is to be alert to the power of recurring revenue and valuations.
Right.
That one business I talked about that talked to me about wanting to get to a number. I shifted his mindset to a SaaS mindset, and COVID hit. SaaS valuations went through the roof. Made me look really smart. But we're down to our last minute, so it's time for key takeaways. Tim, one sentence key takeaway. What do you got for us?
Okay, yeah. So pre-planning, I keep saying that pre-planning your exit strategy can potentially increase the value of your business when you decide to sell it. Don't wait until you're ready to sell.
Very good. John, one sentence key takeaway.
I would say you have to be very flexible and adaptive, because a lot of things that you're not going to expect are going to happen during the process. And in most cases, you're going to have to deal with them very quickly, on a quick turnaround. Very good. Flexibility and adaptability.
And I'll go with timing, because selling a business is like stand-up comedy. Timing is so important. And if you get it right, you're going to laugh all the way to the bank. We probably could have done this one in 2 episodes. A lot of more content to touch on. Maybe we'll come back and do it again, guys. What do you think?
Yeah, that sounds good.
We got to run, get on with our day. Goodbye, everybody. Stay tuned for next week's show. Take care.
Thanks. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.